I graduate in less than 2 weeks. I'm the
Oh,
president.
congratulations. Yeah.
I'm the president of the Pre-Physician Assistant Society. So I thought, what better way to reach out to you and deliver such an incredible message? So if you don't mind, I'll kind of start with a little intro that I put together.
Okay.
Well, good morning, Coach Curry. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Well, I must say, Makenzie, I have never been invited in quite the same way that you went about it. And I've never been quite this impressed with an invitation. And so I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you to Susan for letting you be here today.
Yeah, Susan handles everything. She does a great job.
She was very prompt and timely, and that goes a long way, and I appreciated that. I wanted to give a shout out to Kelsey Garrett, our vice president, who couldn't be here today. She's a woman who exudes to me everything that a PA should be. Coach, you played for Don Shula, Vince Lombardi. You played against the most powerful and influential people. You've played in 3 Super Bowls. You won twice. You were recently named in 2018 in Toronto an illuminary. You took football out of the equation and applied 6 characteristics to being a champion. You've written books and spoken to millions of people. But most importantly, you've taught me the capacity of each of us to be unexpected, undeserved, unwarranted, unrewarded acts of kindness is undeniable in their capacity to transform lives. Everything to me is what makes up a great physician assistant. To me, you are my Bill luminary.
Well, God bless you, Makenzie. Thank you. You are my Makenzie luminary. Wow, you've now I don't know if I can talk, but thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And what you mentioned in the emails that's so important, whether it's my profession or the various professions I've been in, or your profession, or the one you're preparing for, is to have passion for what you do. And that's where I'll start today. And if you're ready, then I'll just go into my remarks now. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Okay, very good. Now, this is the law of the jungle, as old and as true as the sky. And the wolf that shall keep it may prosper, and the wolf that shall break it must die. As the creeper girdles the tree trunk, it runneth forward and back. The strength of the pack is the wolf. The strength of the wolf is the pack. Rudyard Kipling understood the jungle, but he also understood human behavior, which models the jungle almost identically. And when we come together and give up our foolish differences, we make great things happen. And when we do it with passion, we make even greater things happen. In the 4th grade, I walked into a school in College Park, Georgia. I was a very troubled youth. We won't get into that. I saw the most beautiful girl I had ever seen, and smartest kid in the town. And I decided that I was going to make friends with her. And the next year, I decided that I would probably marry her. There were 2 problems, actually. I was shorter than her. She was 5'2". I was chubby. There were several problems now that I think about it. I was always in trouble, and she didn't like me. And so she wouldn't speak to me for 6 years. But I am very persistent. And I had 2 goals in life. Number 1, marry Carolyn Newton. I went home and I told my dad, I'm going to marry Carolyn Newton. He said, that is the best idea you've ever had. Is she aware of the plan? I said, no, not yet. She won't speak to me. And I wanted to pitch for the New York Yankees. Only one thing kept me out of the major leagues in baseball: talent. But I am very persistent. And so Carolyn and I began to date when we were seniors in high school. And I asked her, why did you suddenly develop an interest in me when we were seniors? She said, because you grew a foot. You went from 5'2" to 6'2". She was captain of the cheerleaders in every game that I played in the sport of football. And then I went to Georgia Tech and she came to all our games. Then I went in the NFL and she came to as many games as she could. She watched all of them. I coached a long time. I worked for ESPN. She taped those games. We sat down 2 summers ago and figured out we had done over 700 football games together. In addition to her being a great mom, this is Mother's Day week, to our 2 children and our 7 grandchildren. But there's more. She announced to me last year, I am finished with football. I will never watch another football game with you. So don't get your feelings hurt. I'm going to go read a book. She has an organization. She has a passion for the well-being of women. And her organization is Women Alone Together. And she spends most of her time working with women and for women who have lost their mates late in life. She's been doing that for 20 years. So she made this announcement that she was through with football. And then I noticed a really funny thing the last year or two, and you're going to get a kick out of this being in Kansas City. I'm going to let you guess what the lone exception is. You may be able to think of it quickly. Okay, she will come in on a Sunday, and I don't sit and watch NFL football or even college football. I watch a game every few weeks if I'm really interested, if the playoffs are involved, all the stuff that coaches love to study. But if Patrick Mahomes is going to play, Carolyn Curry is going to be seated and watching every play. Do you think it's because he can throw a left-handed pass if he has to? Do you think it's because he has curly hair? Do you think it's because it's cute? He's cute. Do you think it's because he can make offense? He won a Super Bowl, almost won another one. Do you think it's any of those things? No. It's because she appreciates passion. And people, leaders, male or female, who have passion in what they do and can express it with such excellence that it changes lives on the spot. Now, I don't know Patrick Mahomes. I hope he's a great guy. He probably is. But whether he is or not, every time he goes on the field, he takes something with him. It was the same thing Bart Starr had. It's the same thing Johnny Unitas had. It was the same thing that Dan Pastorini had. I had the privilege of playing with some of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And they were so different in personality, so different in talent, so different in the kinds of offenses, so different even in the way they wanted the snap delivered. But they had this one thing in common with Patrick Mahomes. They were passionate about what they do. And if you're a leader, if you're a physician's assistant, you have one of the most important jobs in the world. You have human lives in your hands. And if you have passion about your preparation, if you're ready to reach across the aisle and join hands with people that are different from you to get your job done and save lives, then by golly, you can do it. And you can do it with passion, and you can do it that way every day. When I reported to the Green Bay Packers, the NFL had 20 rounds. Now they have 7. And we've turned that into some sort of pagan ritual. I mean, it's disgusting. All the stuff that go. Finally, they get around to drafting somebody. So who did draft? I mean, so I'm sorry that that's happened, because it was such a non-thing when I was coming along. I didn't know they were holding a draft. Not only did I not expect it to be drafted, I didn't know they had a draft. So my brother-in-law calls on a Sunday morning and says, "Hello, Green Bay Packer." I hung up on him because he was always messing with me. I was a 212-pound offensive center on an average Georgia Tech football team. So he calls me back and he said, "I'm not kidding. You better get a newspaper. The Green Bay Packers have drafted you in the 20th round." Vince Lombardi had turned to his personnel man, Pat Pepler. He said, "Pepler, we've drafted 19 players. I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed. Do something humorous with the 20th selection." And he walked out. And I'm the humorous thing that happened. That's the truth. Pepper loved to tell that story. So I report to the Green Bay Packers, and I'm the last draft choice. But that's not my biggest problem. I'm a white boy from College Park, Georgia. That's not my biggest problem. I've been playing for a Southern gentleman named Bobby Dodd. That's not my biggest problem. The coach is not a Southern guy. You're a legend, your family, the Green Bay Packers. That's all you'll think about. He talked like this year. He was from Brooklyn. His name was Vince Lombardi. And I was terrified of him. That was not my biggest problem. My biggest problem is that I had never been in a huddle with an African American person. And Lombardi had a lot of strong suits, many, many. Of course, he was one of the greatest coaches of all time. But his strongest suit is that he would not tolerate racism. You didn't look down your nose at anybody. It didn't matter if you were LGBT, whatever. He didn't care. You don't look down your nose at anybody. He had experienced discrimination because of his Italian American heritage. He had been treated as badly as some folks are being treated right now in our country. And he was not going to have it on his team. We had more African American players than anybody in the league by far. So I thought those big guys were going to hear my Southern accent, injure me, and send me home. And I didn't blame them. We were burning cities. We were having demonstrations much like the ones we've experienced in the last year or two right here in the United States. And I didn't know how to behave. All I knew to do is just to show up and do my best every day. Well, in that state of affairs, the most intimidating of all those guys was the great Willie Davis, future Hall of Famer, defensive end from Grambling State University. And I didn't know it, but he was working on his master's degree in business at the University of Chicago while being captain of the greatest football team of all time. The Packers were already being called that. And that's before they went on their 3 Super Bowl run there in the mid 60s, starting with the Kansas City Chiefs, by the way. And I'm not bragging or complaining. That was part of the deal. So I'm walking out of the dorm one night. I really expected one of those big guys to walk up and tell me to get lost. I really did. And I was trying to think, how will I deal with that? How will I call my bride and say, I've been cut? I was so anxious, terrified of that. That anxiety was the biggest problem. Being around people different from me. How are they going to treat me? So this voice comes out of the darkness from behind me, Bill. I thought it was God. I just sat down in the grass. It was Willie Davis. He said, I'd like to speak to you, young man. I said, oh no, he's going to tell me to get lost. That's not what he did. Here's what he said. He said, Phil, I've been watching you at practice and I like your effort. You've got a chance to make our team and I'm going to help you. And he said it with passion. I said, you are? He said, yeah. And he told me a story about his early career when they got beat in a big championship game in Philadelphia. He said, I walked off that field and I realized that I had not given my best. I had left regrets on the field. He said, Bill, you come on our practice field every day and leave no regrets. You get tired, you watch me practice. You practice like I practice, and you'll make our team. And when you don't think you can take it another minute, and Lombardi's screaming profanity in your face, and he did, and right next to you, the middle linebacker's tearing your head off, and he did, you come find me and I'll get you through it. I'll get you through it. We called him Dr. Feelgood. So sure enough, I'd be near tears. I mean, I was 22 years old and I was a knucklehead. So I'd go running and find Willie Davis. I said, how you feel, old man? He said, feel good, man. Feel good. You can do it. You can do it. So what'd the great man do for the terrified white kid? He didn't just help me play for 10 years in the NFL. He didn't just help me to get to 3 Super Bowls. He changed my life. It was an unexpected, undeserved, unrewarded act of kindness. And I can't believe you remembered those words, but you did. That is amazing to me because that's what it was. And when a great person or even a not so great person does that, you can't help but respond. You can't help but respond. Where you expect cruelty and you get the antithesis of that, you have a decision to make. Am I going to respond the way this guy wants me to? Yes, ma'am, I am. I'm going to give him everything. That's my teammate. So we lost Willie last year and it broke my heart because I was able to stay in touch with him through the years and thank him